In world history, seen from a Christian perspective, it is important to remember that there is a timeline already planned. Throughout this timeline, a mysterious man appears repeatedly, a man shrouded in darkness, known as the man of sin, the man of disobedience, the first beast. As we live our days, it becomes increasingly clear that we are not just spectators, but active participants in an epic narrative. We are living in the last days, those that the Bible warned us about. The idea that the world is at a turning point is not just an expression. It is a clear reality for anyone who sees the world from a biblical perspective. The clock of history is not just ticking time. It is pulsing with the fulfillment of prophecies. Every tick and every tack brings us closer to the divinely planned outcome. We are not talking about a fanciful invention. We are talking about the ticking of the clock and the turning of time. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel and stay up to date with all the videos on our channel. The years pass and the calendar continues, without stopping, towards the arrival of a very evil man, known as the Antichrist. In the midst of this great story, we are trying to understand what this Antichrist might do in 2024, and the ideas are scary. The title of this conversation may seem shocking, but it serves to make us think and stay alert. It is a call for all Christians to be attentive and vigilant. Today's message has two objectives. First, to warn about the real presence of the spirit of Antichrist in the world. Second, show how this spirit is setting the stage for surprising events in 2024. We are at an important time in history where darkness and deception are on the rise. The Apostle John, in his letters, gives us a biblical basis for our discussion. He says in 1 John 4 verse 3 that every spirit that does not recognize Jesus does not come from God. This is the spirit of Antichrist. Subscribe to our channel and stay up to date with all our videos. The Bible teaches us that the spirit of Antichrist is already among us. It is not something that will only happen in the future. This spirit is influencing our societies, the media, and even our local communities. It is important to understand that, before the Antichrist appears as a man, his spirit will already be spread throughout the world. In 1 John 2 verse 18, John warns us, "This is the last hour, and as you have heard that Antichrist is coming, so many Antichrists have arisen." This makes us realize that we are living in prophetic times and we must be attentive. Understanding the spirit of the Antichrist helps us identify his actions. Instead of focusing solely on the individual, we should observe the increase in disobedience, moral decay, and deception all around us. This helps us recognize the signs of the times and the importance of being vigilant and spiritually aware. What the spirit of the Antichrist will do in 2024 is, in fact, a continuation of what he has been doing since the beginning. The Apostle John taught us to be prepared and alert for these signs. Today we are going to talk about something important for us as believers to pay attention to. The first point is not exactly about what the Antichrist will do, but rather something we should watch: the political unrest around the world. The world is full of political tensions and conflicts. This is not just a coincidence, but an important part of the prophecies. This climate of instability helps prepare the way for the arrival of the Antichrist. Before he appears, the world will be in a state much like it is today, divided and crying out for peace. Nations are in conflict and division, and everyone is deeply desiring peace. This universal desire for peace creates the perfect conditions for the Antichrist to emerge, promising a false peace. In the Bible, in Daniel 8 verse 25, it is written that, through his policies, he will cause deception to prosper and become very powerful. Therefore, when we see the world the way it is today, full of disorder and longing for peace, we must pay attention, for these are signs of things to come. Let's talk about something important and easy to understand. In the Bible, there is a passage that talks about a very evil man, the Antichrist, who will use peace to deceive many people. He will pretend to be a hero of peace, but in reality he has very bad intentions. Another Bible verse in 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3 says that when people are talking about peace and security, suddenly destruction will come. This is like when a woman is about to have a baby. Suddenly the pain starts and no one can escape. In 1 Thessalonians 5, Paul talks about the day of the Lord, which is when God will judge the world that does not believe in him. This event happens after the rapture, which is described in 1 Thessalonians 4 verses 15 to 17, where all Christians are taken to heaven by Christ, leaving the earth behind. When that day comes, it will be a total surprise for you. And don't believe. They will think the world is peaceful and safe, but in reality, destruction will come suddenly. So, it is important to always be attentive and prepared. Let's talk about something important and easy to understand. Imagine that, suddenly, everything seems calm and peaceful, but this peace is suddenly broken, like labor pains that take a woman by surprise. At the beginning of the tribulation period, which is a difficult time after the rapture, those who do not believe will be deceived into a false sense of peace and security. This is only temporary and misleading. The Bible, in Daniel 9 verse 27, talks about a peace treaty that will be made by the Antichrist. He will make a peace agreement, but he will break it in the middle of this difficult period. This is part of the biblical story, which says that Israel will feel security and peace at first, but this tranquility will be interrupted as the events of the tribulation occur, showing that this peace is temporary and false. The Antichrist will rise to power, showing himself as a man of peace, a charismatic leader who appears in the midst of global chaos. He will offer solutions to many of the world's problems, seducing many people with promises of stability and harmony. But all this will be a big mistake. Let's talk about something important happening in the world right now. Everyone is asking for peace, right? I want to make it clear that I'm not saying that the Antichrist will appear in 2024, because in truth, I don't know when he will appear. But what I want you to realize is the world's desperate need for peace and how the Bible describes that the Antichrist will emerge as a man of peace. Sometimes I wonder how the Antichrist will be able to unite the entire world in peace and make everyone accept him as leader. The fact that the entire world will unite under the command of this man shows several things. One of them is the level of deception and the power of the Antichrist's lie. Think about it. At what point in history did all of humanity listen to and obey a single leader? When was the whole world united in peace under the rule of one person? When did all of humanity see a man as a god? When did people set aside their social and political differences to follow one man? What about when everyone set aside their religious beliefs to follow one person? These questions make us think about the power that the Antichrist will have and how he will deceive many people. Let's think together about some awesome things. Imagine a world where all people decide to follow a single leader and set aside their beliefs to worship that man. This has never happened before, right? Also think about a leader who makes everyone have to use a symbol or brand to show that they are on his side. A system where no one can buy or sell anything without following that leader. This has also never happened before. Now, imagine this leader performing miracles and tricks so incredible that he fools entire nations. We've never had someone like that in history. What if he manages to make peace in the Middle East, especially between Israel and its neighbors? That would be something totally new. The Bible talks about this in the book of Revelation, chapter 13. Often, we do not understand how great and supernatural the Antichrist's deception will be. What he will do will not be something ordinary, but something beyond the natural, because he will receive his power from a very powerful force. So when we see these things, we must remember what the Bible tells us and be alert. Let's talk about some important things in a very simple way. In the Bible, it is written that the Antichrist will receive his power from something very evil, as if he came from the very gates of hell. In 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 3, it says that when people talk about peace and security, suddenly destruction will come, like labor pains that take a woman by surprise, and they will not be able to escape. The false security that the Antichrist offers will end up leading to even greater destruction, as his reign will be full of oppression and lies. Another important point to pay attention to is the eyes of the beast. When I speak of the eyes of the beast, I am talking about the Antichrist's global surveillance and control. Technology is advancing very quickly, especially in areas such as artificial intelligence, AI, facial recognition, and global tracking systems. These technologies, despite bringing innovation and efficiency, can also be used for control and surveillance, and this can be taken advantage of by the Antichrist to dominate. Never before in history has it been so easy to introduce and implement the mark of the beast because of these advanced technologies. We need to be aware of how these technologies can be used for control and not just for good things. Let's talk about something very interesting. artificial intelligence, or AI. Before, it was just a laboratory thing, but now it's super important in our modern lives. AI can analyze and process data in an incredible way, which is great for many things, such as predicting the economy or helping with health. But did you know that this same AI can be used to monitor and even predict what a person will do? Just imagine, as if it were an eye that sees everything, observing every step people take. Facial recognition technology is an example of this. On the one hand, it helps us to have more security and makes our lives easier, since we don't need passwords or cards to identify ourselves. But, on the other hand, it can be used to follow and monitor us around. And you know what's most impressive? Cameras can now identify people by the way they walk. This is called movement pattern recognition. It's like biometric identification, but based on the way each person moves. It is important to understand that these technologies are like a double-edged sword. They can be used for good and bad things. Therefore, we need to keep an eye on and understand how they are being used. Let's talk about something amazing: motion pattern recognition, also known as gait recognition. This business uses advanced algorithms and cameras to analyze how people walk. Each person has a unique way of moving, so this technology can identify each person just by looking at how they walk. Motion pattern recognition is super useful, especially in security. Imagine being able to identify someone from afar, even if the video quality isn't very good. This is possible with this technology. Therefore, it is increasingly being used in security systems to monitor and identify people. And there's one more important thing to talk about: the way in which sin and rebellion against God are becoming increasingly common and acceptable. This is crucial to understanding how the spirit of Antichrist operates and prepares the world for his final deception. So, when we are in 2024, keep an eye on the technological infrastructure that could be used by the Antichrist. It's important to understand these things so we don't get fooled. Let's talk about something important that's happening in the world. Have you noticed that many things that we used to consider wrong are becoming more and more normal? That's a bit worrying, isn't it? This change is not just a matter of social evolution. It is as if it were a strategic move by the Antichrist to end God's principles and what the Bible teaches. Sin is becoming common, from what we see on TV to the laws that are made. The media and entertainment often show lifestyles that go against what the Bible teaches, subtly influencing people's opinions and making them less sensitive to sin. And society's laws and norms are moving further and further away from the values of the Bible, even celebrating things that the Bible says are wrong. This acceptance of sin, disguised as progress and modernity, is a clear sign of the influence of the Antichrist. Furthermore, we are seeing a general rebellion against what God has established. This is something serious, and we need to be careful. Let's talk about something important that the Bible teaches us. It shows us a way of living and a moral code that is designed for our good and our spiritual health. But look, there's something strange happening. People are increasingly wanting to do things their way, without caring about what God says. This change is not just about what society thinks is right or wrong. It is deeper than that. It's as if they are trying to change what people think and feel, taking away trust in God and the Bible and replacing it with trust in human ideas and desires. When people stop recognizing sin as sin, that's when the Antichrist can come in with his false promises and deceptive solutions. And in 2024, this change could get even worse, with the Antichrist having even more influence and actively opposing the truths of the Bible. Therefore, it is important to keep an eye on and remain firm in our faith, even when things around us are changing. We must be vigilant, understand what is happening, and resist things that go against what the Bible teaches us. Let's talk about something important that is happening around us. There is a very subtle but powerful change happening that is taking us away from God's path. It's as if we were carried by a current that takes us away from what God wants for us. This thing of accepting sin and disobeying God is a pretty big sign of what the Antichrist is doing to deceive us. It's like he's setting the stage for what's going to happen in the future. It is important that we recognize and deal with this, especially if we want to keep our faith strong in a world that is moving further and further away from the teachings of the Bible. So we need to keep an eye on it and stand firm in our faith, even when things around us are changing. It's a way to be light in a world that is getting dark.